It's funny how an ordinary moment from childhood can feel completely unbelievable when we look back at it today. Picture this: a chilly morning in the mid-1970s, the school bell ringing for break, and a queue of eager children gathering by the playground wall. In their hands, ISNT, anything you'd find in a modern lunchbox, no neatly labeled containers or approved healthy options, but a simple, homemade treat that every child seemed to recognize instantly. Some shared it, some traded it, and the teachers barely glanced in their direction. It was just part of the rhythm of school life. Yet, if you introduced that same little snack into a classroom today, it would set off alarms, trigger forms to be filled in, and probably earn you a polite but firm conversation with the head ticker. How did something so normal become unthinkable? That's where our story begins. To understand why this once ordinary snack felt so unremarkable, we have to step back into a Britain that looked and behaved very differently. In the years after the war, rationing slowly faded and families finally rediscovered the joy of small indulgences. A few extra spoonfuls of sugar for baking, a warm bun from the corner shop, or a packet of novelty sweets felt like tiny celebrations of normal life returning. Schools reflected that same spirit. There were rules, of course, but they were lighter, simpler, and held together more by trust than paperwork. Lunchboxes became personal treasure chests, each one revealing a little of the household behind it. Some held jam sandwiches wrapped in grease-proof paper, others had tinned fruit cups, leftover sponge pudding, or a still-warm bakery treat picked up on the way to class. No one checked ingredients. No one weighed portions. Children were simply expected to get on with the day, fueled by whatever their parents had packed. In that atmosphere of freedom and practicality, our now controversial snack made perfect sense. It was quick, affordable, and comforting, a tiny symbol of resilience in a country rebuilding itself. And understanding that mindset helps explain why it caused absolutely no fuss at all. If you talk to anyone who grew up between the 1950s and the 1980s, they'll almost always smile when you mention school break time. It wasn't just a pause between lessons. It was a tiny world of its own, full of trading, laughter, and those unforgettable homemade treats. Under the old oak tree, where the shade pooled across the tarmac, children swapped bites of their favorites without a moment's hesitation. Teachers stood nearby, sipping tea from flasks, keeping half an eye on things, but never worrying about what was tucked inside a child's lunchbox. And right at the center of it all was the snack everyone knew, a soft slice of bread layered with sweet condensed milk, folded over and pressed together until it formed a perfectly sticky delight. Some children brought a version made with bread and butter, crowned with colorful novelty sprinkles, turning it into a tiny celebration in sandwich form. Others arrived with improvised creations, biscuits stuck together with jam, buns repurposed into makeshift desserts, or the infamous schoolyard mega-sweet made by tipping every sugary treasure from their pockets into one chaotic masterpiece. To modern eyes, it sounds outrageous. To children then, it was pure joy. Why did these snacks exist in the first place? The answer lies in the rhythm of post-war Britain. Families were practical. Ingredients were simple. Parents wanted something quick, filling, and affordable that could keep a child going through long days of lessons, games, and outdoor play. A tin of condensed milk lasted ages. Bread was inexpensive. And novelty sweets from the local corner shop came in little paper bags that cost next to nothing. These were the treats that fit the times, cheerful, economical, and made with whatever was already in the kitchen. Culturally, no one thought twice about them. If anything, these snacks became part of the social currency of school life. A child with a particularly generous slice of the condensed milk sandwich suddenly had bargaining power, trading a bite for someone else's jam biscuit or the last piece of sponge from yesterday's pudding. And there were always the children who went further, proudly unveiling their super snacks during break. They'd mix buns, biscuits, sprinkles, and sweets into creations that would probably make a modern nutritionist faint. But back then, they were admired like works of edible art. Contrast that with today. Modern guidelines around school food are detailed and carefully structured. Parents are more health conscious, schools monitor ingredients for safety, and nutritional standards shape what children bring in. None of this is bad. It simply reflects a world that understands more about diet, well-being, and allergies than people did decades ago. What once felt harmless now feels complicated, and something as simple as a condensed milk sandwich would raise more questions than smiles. It isn't a matter of right or wrong, just a sign of how much society has evolved. Ask anyone who lived through it, though, and they'll remember the excitement. The whole class would buzz whenever Tommy arrived with his bread and sprinkle masterpiece. Children gathered around like spectators at a grand reveal, waiting to see whether he'd trade a piece or guard it fiercely. It was silly, simple, and utterly unforgettable. And that raises a question far deeper than the snack itself. Why do memories of these small treats still carry so much power today? What makes these old-school snacks so deeply moving isn't really the flavor at all. It's the feeling wrapped around them. A feeling of belonging, of childhood freedom, of being trusted to manage your own little world. Back then, a simple homemade treat wasn't just something to eat. It was a quiet message from home, a reminder that your parents cared in the small ways that mattered most. It linked you to the rhythm of your family, your street, and the corner shop where everyone knew your name. These snacks also symbolized a kind of simplicity that's hard to imagine today. There were fewer rules, fewer concerns, fewer layers of caution. Children roamed playgrounds with pockets full of crumbs and treasures, negotiating trades with the confidence of miniature adults. No one monitored every ingredient or weighed every portion. The world felt lighter, and childhood carried a breezy independence that we rarely see now, and that's why the memories linger. A condensed milk sandwich or a sprinkle-covered bun can transport people straight back to cold mornings, warm classrooms, after-school walks, and the comfort of being young in a Britain that moved at a gentler pace. It's less about the snack itself and more about the life that surrounded it. This one snack, simple as it was, reveals how much Britain has changed. It reflects a time when community ties were strong, rules were lighter, and childhood felt wonderfully unpolished. Schools trusted families, families trusted children, and life moved with a slower, friendlier rhythm. Today, routines are more structured, expectations clearer, and every detail carefully considered. It isn't better or worse, just different. But those old snacks remind us of something precious: the warmth of home, the joy of break time, and the sense of freedom that shaped so many of us. Maybe we no longer eat those treats, but the memories, the laughter, the independence, the ordinary magic of growing up stay with us forever.